Thank you for joining us in the Evervolt Certified Installer Program. This is module number 3, How to Sell Energy Storage Systems. This is the complete Panasonic system, our AC coupled Evervolt inverter, along with the Panasonic HIT AC module. This AC module includes Enphase's IQ7X, delivering 315 watts of continuous output power. To a homeowner, this is a great package to offer because it's coming from one brand, one source, and the warranty is provided by a company that has been in business for over 100 years. This is the Panasonic DC coupled system. It's going to be a little bit lower cost than the AC coupled, again because you have your single inverter, and this is offered with our Panasonic HIT module, which has heterojunction technology, delivering more power over time. Again, coupled with our Panasonic Evervolt DC coupled system. To the homeowner, this is a great option if they don't need to see module level power electronics, or even if they do, there are third-party options available. Now we'll discuss some selling strategies at the kitchen table. You will come across various homeowners that have very limited or basic knowledge of PV and energy storage, all the way to homeowners that have done their research and due diligence on the internet, for better or worse, to present their knowledge of energy storage. One of the most common questions that you will receive from a homeowner is, can I do a whole home backup? Or perhaps they're already under the assumption that by installing an energy storage system, it will back up their entire house. The right answer? Maybe. It will completely depend on the homeowner's budget. They can back up their whole house if the budget is sufficient. The home size. Obviously, larger homes will require additional battery storage capabilities than a smaller home. The home location. Coastal areas will differ from inland areas. Northern climates will differ from southern climates. And finally, the question of what do they really need during an outage? There are high loads like jacuzzis, air conditioning units, and EV chargers, which oftentimes homeowners assume will be backed up during an outage. This table represents sample calculations for energy storage systems. You can see our Evervolt Standard and Plus, with the Standard delivering 11.4 kilowatt hours and the Plus delivering 17.1 kilowatt hours of energy storage. The average backup capability, which is based on the national home average consumption of electricity at 30 kilowatt hours per day, being 6 with the Standard and 9 with the Plus. You can see that a refrigerator, furnace fan, cell phone charger, and a few light bulbs are calculated here. For the Standard, over that amount of time, these various loads would consume 8.8 kilowatt hours. Likewise, with the Plus, these loads would consume 13.2 kilowatt hours. So you can see it's under the threshold of the full available usable capacity, which is the best practice for designing a system. You always want to set the customer expectation to be reasonable. On setting the expectations with the homeowner, off-grid is generally not an option. Many customers that want to do the right thing and they want to get away from fossil fuels will ask you about going off the grid and not connecting to the utility. It's generally not an option for a couple of reasons. The main reasons being the cost, and also related to the cost is that they will not get the federal tax incentive, and typically the local incentives and rebates offered are generally offered as part of the grid services. Whole home backup, as mentioned, is generally not an option. Typically this is a cost prohibitive feature, and many homeowners have AC units, well pumps, pool pumps, electric vehicles, and these are all extremely high loads that are generally not going to be able to be serviced by an energy storage system within reason. How big of a system can I afford? This is a great question and a great starting point for most homeowners. As mentioned previously, energy storage typically doesn't pencil out from a cost economical point of view, So the real question is, if a customer is looking for resiliency, what is their budget? How big of a system can they afford is going to be the key. This is a simple example of kitchen table math. Again, you will want to have your engineers and designers do the detailed math, and they will do a plug load analysis of the house, determine exactly what that homeowner is using, and set their sizing appropriately. But for basic kitchen table math, we have how big of a system do I need? So as mentioned, the average US household consumes 28 kilowatt hours per day. 1 Evervolt Plus is 17 kilowatt hours. If you take 17 divided by 28, that equals 0.6. If we times that by the 24 hours for a full day, that's equivalent to 14 hours of backup. Now what this particular calculation doesn't take into account is fluctuating loads. Certain times of the day and certain hours of the day, typically when homeowners are awake and not sleeping, are going to be consuming more electricity than others. So we put a safety factor in there. We derate that 14 hours by 30%. This gives us 9 hours of backup in a general. If a customer has a utility bill available, you can take a look at their latest billing statement. In this case, 303 kilowatt hours reported from SCE in the month of October. The daily average would then be 10 kilowatt hours per day. If this customer were to use an Evervolt standard at 11.4 usable kilowatt hours, you could take the 11.4 divided by the 10 times the 24 hours in a day, which would give you 27 hours of backup capability. This is a great size because it would generally ensure that the PV would recharge the batteries on a daily basis. The 27 hours, again factoring into our 70% safety factor, gives us 19 hours of backup total. It should be noted that this utility bill is extremely low and from a coastal area in a mild climate. The customer does not use AC or any type of pumps. If the customer you are dealing with is in other locations that has high AC loads or pumps or electric vehicles, this will be a much different analysis. It is very important to keep the energy storage sales process simple. PV is complicated enough. Energy storage is extremely complicated if you dive into the details. What many of the leading residential energy storage contractors are doing is selling an energy storage system as a simple price adder. If the customer is choosing to install a solar PV system, generally there is a good payback and good ROI on that PV system. With energy storage, it's usually tied to resiliency and an emotional need for that homeowner. Therefore, a simple price adder keeps things simple. This way you can present it to your customer showing an increase in the payback period, and that customer can then decide if they are willing to justify the increase in payback to provide additional energy storage and backup needs to their home. Again, going back to how big of a system can I afford, this is a crucial point. The rule of thumb is to have them buy as big of a battery system as possible. Batteries will last a very long time. Again, as mentioned previously, our Panasonic battery, we limit the depth of discharge to 84%, and we are extremely conservative in that performance and degradation of the battery. This battery will last the homeowner a very long time. Keep the design simple. A lot of times when you're doing many installations or sales, you just don't have the time or the resources to do a plug load analysis. In that case, offering a simple backed up loads panel and letting the homeowner choose 4 to 6 circuits to back up of reasonable loads such as lighting, microwave, refrigerator, coffee, garage door, Wi-Fi, internet, the very basic loads. As soon as you get into higher loads like ACs, pumps, it gets a little bit more complex and it veers away from this model. So if you can keep it simple and just have them choose 4 to 6 circuits, you can save a lot of design time and headaches. And that concludes our basic sales strategies for selling energy storage. We will now move on to module number 4, basic battery safety and performance.